very last Google tour that I'll be doing. It's about global partnerships. So I kind of want to start out. Venezuela is definitely a complicated country when it comes to the partnerships that they have. First is basically their greatest enemy, which is our first location, is the United States. Now, it's not Venezuela as a whole, but really a lot of the ideas and animosity towards the United States came from their previous president, Hugo Chavez. So he hated the United States. Basically everything about us with the free trade, with the rights, with the way that we dealt with other countries. He thought that we were invasive and even called President Bush a white devil and all sorts of crazy stuff. So now the relations with the United States are basically everything negative that you can think of. They don't trade with the United States. They don't really have much relation with the United States. They don't give many U.S. citizens visas to come to Venezuela, and honestly, vice versa. The U.S. hasn't treated Venezuela super, um, I guess you could say, super nicely either because of that. The second place that we're going to go to is actually a recent alliance that Venezuela has found, and that is Mother Russia. What's happening is Venezuela has been trading with Russia because they like their their army supplies. They like their guns. They like their weapons. So Venezuela's been shelling out quite a bit, and Russia has been more than happy to send over quite a few of their weapons and technology to Venezuela because they're essentially paying for it. So that's become a recent alliance, and the reason why Venezuela picked Russia to get their weapons from is because basically Russia and the United States aren't on the best terms as of late. So that if that says anything for it, that kind of shows you that in spite of the United States, Venezuela went out and made this alliance with Russia, which is kind of crazy to think about. The third place that we're going to go is Colombia, which I would say is Venezuela's closest ally. They are right next door to each other. Venezuela and Colombia kind of feed off of each other. Venezuela doesn't trade with a ton of countries. They like to kind of keep it, I guess, close by, in spite of the few weird alliances that they have just to kind of go against the U.S. But Colombia is one of those countries where they trade back and forth all the time. The geography of both of them are pretty similar, and a lot of the goods that they share are pretty similar, so it's easy for them to trade. Colombia, as well as Cuba and Ecuador, and I believe Peru, oh, and sorry, not Peru, Bolivia, are part of the Bolivarian alliance, and those countries kind of trade up in between each other, which kind of brings us to the next place, which is Cuba. Oh, sorry, right there, Cuba. Venezuela likes Cuba a lot because Cuba doesn't like the U.S. a lot, as well as part of the Bolivarian alliance. So Cuba trades with companies like Bolivia, or countries like Bolivia. I don't know why I keep saying companies, but countries like Bolivia, countries like Colombia, and then countries like Venezuela all the time. Um, Cuba does have a little bit more to offer Venezuela as far as some of the different goods. Venezuela is kind of like the bigger brother of Cuba, I think. Cuba's a little bit more Americanized because they are closer to the U.S. So I guess that's Venezuela's excuse for really not being such good allies with the U.S. or even enemies, I guess you could say, with the U.S. because Cuba has quite a bit of the things that they actually um, would get essentially from the U.S. The last place that we're going is Caracas, which is the capital. This is basically the center point of all alliances. This is where a lot of trade happens. You can kind of see up here the northern state of Vargas is where the ports are. There's lots of airports. This is where all the government buildings are, the military buildings are, and as such, that's where a lot of the protesting and turmoil goes on when things aren't going right with the government and with the relations that they have with other countries. So um, that's basically a quick rundown on what Venezuela has been dealing with lately and who some of their closest allies are and who the number one enemy is, which is unfortunately us, the United States.